Welcome to watch my video on i-cord bind off. I'm doing two kinds of i-cord bind off. The regular i-cord bind off that I do for live stitches here that I have, and then I'm working applied i-cord bind off here, so you will see how it's done for an edge that has already been knit or worked. Okay, what I'm doing here, I'm doing 3 stitches i-cord. So while I'm binding off these stitches, I first have to cast on 3 stitches, and I'm casting on, since I'm in the, let's unravel the first stitch that I cast on. Since my working yarn is coming from the skein that I have here and from the first stitch that I have in the beginning of the row, I'm casting on these 3 stitches in the beginning of this row, like that, 3 stitches by knitting. And then I'm just knitting the first 2 stitches. I'm starting to work the i-cord. Then I'm knitting these 2 stitches, so the last stitch that I cast on and the first stitch of my swatch, knitting them together from the back loop. So I'm going from the back and I'm knitting them together. I have 3 stitches again. Then I'm slipping them back to the left hand needle and again starting from the beginning. So my working yarn is coming now from the 3rd stitch, obviously, because that's where I stopped. So I have to bring the yarn from the back, which means I just bring it from the back of the work, and then I'm knitting again 2 stitches and knitting these 2 stitches together from the back loop. I'm bringing the stitches back to the left hand needle, again repeating, knit 2, knit 2 together from the back loop, slip the stitches back. If your i-cord starts to form too tight, you can work with larger needle. I have worked with the same size needles that I've done here, the gather stitch. So I'm knitting my stitches a bit. I'm kind of making them longer than they would regularly be, just to make sure that the i-cord doesn't come too tight. But you can also work with a slightly larger needles. And here is how I repeat. Then bring the stitches back to the left hand needle, knit 2, and knit 2 together from the back loop. As you can see, there is starting to form an i-cord. There is a slightly larger loops here because to show you, I made them longer than the rest of these stitches, but still I'm knitting slightly looser than I would normally knit. And this is how you repeat to the end. And I will cut to the end, you will see what happens in the end. Okay, now I have just 1 stitch left, so I will bind off that one too, knit 2, knit 2 together from the back loop. And now you have actually several options. You could just knit 3 together, but it depends what you are doing and what you are doing next. Or you could just regularly bind these off like stitch by stitch. Knit 2, slip 1 over. It's just depends on what you want to do. Oops. You could knit all those 3 stitches together or bind them off, or it depends. I will just bound them off and taking my scissors. Cut the yarn, and I have nice i-cord bind off here. It looks the same from both sides of the piece. And next we will do applied i-cord. Okay, then the applied i-cord. So I'm using just for this video a different contrasting color colored yarn, just to show you the i-cord, applied i-cord, so you will see it much more clearly what is happening there. And first I'm doing actually 6 stitches i-cord. Now you can do either 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. 6 stitches is probably the maximum, because I've tried larger applied i-cord, but it's kind of, the yarn kind of stretches too much from the behind, so 60 stitches is the maximum that I have done. Okay, first I will cast on those 6 stitches. I'm using regular long tail cast on, but I have also used this in one of my, actually 2 of my designs. The one that I have used it is my holiday color book shawl, in which I did a provisional cast on, and then I did the i-cord, applied i-cord bind off around the shawl, and then I unraveled the provisional cast on, and then I did a Kitchener stitch to join the last 6 stitches from the i-cord bind off and the first 6 stitches from the i-cord bind off, to make a nice invisible edging there. But for this video I just show you how the i-cord is done, so you will see what is happening. Okay, so first I will knit these first 5 stitches, and since I'm doing i-cord, you did see that I didn't turn the work. I just started to knit and bringing the yarn from this stitch to the first stitch here. Then I'm slipping the last stitch to the needle, so my working yarn is coming from the 5th stitch here. Then I'm taking the piece that I have here. There is just this yarn waiting. I'm making a yarn over, so I'm bringing the yarn from under the needle and over the needle, and then I'm slipping it to the first stitch that where I want to apply the i-cord, and I'm picking up and knitting the stitch, and then I have to have my first needle, and then I'm gonna bring the yarn over and the slip stitch that I have. Now that you can see, I have 8 stitches on my needle. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm bringing this slip stitch and the yarn over the stitch that I picked from the edge of my work. I'm tidying the yarn a bit, and as you can see, I have stitched 6 stitches again here on my needle. I'm tying the yarn, and now since we are working I-cord, I have to slide these stitches back to the right end of the needle, bring the yarn from the back to the first stitch and knit first the 5 stitches. Then I'm slipping the last stitch, bringing the yarn over, going to the edge that I have here, picking up and knit, and then I'm bringing these 2 stitches, the yarn over and the slip stitch over the needle that I have here. I have 6 stitches again. I'm sliding the stitches back here to the right end of the needle. So the easiest way to work the applied I-cord is you use 2 double pointed needles. You can also use a circular needle, but it's much more easier with double point needles, I think. And repeat. Knit 5, slip the last stitch, make a yarn over. And here is a tip. I'm a little bit helping with my right hand index finger, the yarn over, making a little loop here so it won't be too tight when I have to slip it over this stitch. So I will make it a bit looser. Then I have picked up the last stitch, so I can easily put my needle here and bring in the yarns over. That's it. The back doesn't look nice yet, but it will get much more nicer. So at this point, when you are bringing the yarn in front, you can pull or tighten the yarn a bit. Then again, slip, yarn over, slip stitches over the last stitch, over the picked up stitch. And I'm making a few repeats, and let's see how it grows. Knit 5, slip the last stitch, make a yarn over, help with the index finger, pick up and knit, and bring the 2 stitches, slip the 2 stitches over the last stitch. Slide the stitches, knit to the last stitch, so it doesn't actually matter how many stitches do you have. The pattern is always that you knit to the last stitch, slip the last stitch, yarn over, pick up and knit, and slip the 2 stitches over the stitch that you had just knit. Then slide again, knit 5, to the last stitch, slip the stitch, yarn over, slip the 2 stitches over the stitch that you just knit. And now we could take a little look to the back. As you can see, it starts to look nice from the back too, and this is slightly bulky yarn for the i-cordbindoff, for this wide i-cordbindoff. So if you would have fingering weights lighter yarn, 6 stitch i-cordbindoff, applied i-cord wouldn't be too much, but now it's slightly too bulky for it, but as you can see, it still looks really nice also from the back and from the front. I will continue to the end and let's see what happens there. Okay, I have my last stitch here, so I have knit fine, slip 1, yarn over, pick up and knit, slip the last two, slip the yarn over and the slip stitch over the stitch that you just knit. Okay, now what happens depends only what you want to do. So as I said in the beginning, if you are working on a round piece, I recommend that you do provisional cast on here, so you can join the piece with Kitchener stitch to the end. But here I'm doing like this. I will first knit the first stitches together, then knitting the second 2 stitches together and just working a regular bind off with them, slipping the stitch, and then I'm working the last 2 stitches together and working a bind off like that, and I'm ready to cut the yarn. That's it. Here I have first a regular I-cord bind off with live stitches and applied I-cord for an edge that has already been worked. And as you can see, it looks really nice. Both bind offs look really nice from the wrong side too. Thank you for watching.